Hello everyone, my name is Clement, and in this week educational episode we're going to discuss about the 3 stages of property ownership. So without further ado, let's dive deep in. Alright, so over here we're going to discuss what is the difference between holding one property versus changing properties, and as well how to identify your retirement goals using property, and lastly how to construct a portfolio for yourself using the 3 stages of property ownership. Okay, as you are aware, currently there's a lot of HDB crossing $1 million, especially so where this article shows that couple buys Marine Parade HDB for over 1 million despite 51 years left on the list. So the next question that comes to you now, is this property bought by an upgrader or downgrader? And I think you have the answer for yourself. Majority will actually say they are downgraders, because for upgraders it's really impossible to pay a $1 million HDB, especially when they are so young, at 30s or 40 years old. And true enough, the data shows that majority of people who crosses $1 million HDB are buyers who are actually downgraders from private condominium. We can also see this $1 million mark happening in the OCR town as well, Yishun. HDB jumbo flat sold for over 1 million, and it's actually situated on the 4th floor of this 12-story block in block 652 Yishun. And the next question that will also come to you is, ask yourself this: who buy this $1 million HDB? And the answer is very obvious. It's from the private downgraders who wants to right size to a HDB, and who probably are en bloc owners who gotten good money from the sales of their condominium as well. Okay, so I'm going to actually put in the case study that I did recently for my client. So this client actually is age 55, and they bought a property 20 years ago at 750k. Today is fully paid. The valuation as of 2016 is 1.4 million. So the question now, they ask me, is it wise to hold this property for so long? And I leave this open to the ground. There can be a yes or no, but personally I feel that yeah, while there is actually a capital appreciation of 650,000, right, this couple could actually do more, because 20 years to hold this 650k, right, they seriously can outperform if they were to swap their properties for better gain. So there's no right or wrong, and I open this to a discussion. But from my personal finding, I'm going to share with you why it's not advisable to hold one property for such a long time. Okay, so this is the price chart of this condominium that was under the case study. Okay, notice here the couple actually bought in 1996 period and sold off in 2016. Happened to be one of the peak period in this whole property cycle where you see prices escalating this way. Alright, yeah, so as indicated here, 750k in 1996 and 1.4 million in 2016. So that gives the couple a 650k of capital gain, which we also call profit as well. Alright, but the question is, having this $1.4 million, what does it mean to them? At 55 years old, they still need a roof over their head. And this is what worries them and concerns them as well. So I further on to tell them, so this 1.4 million, right, is actually money stuck in the house. And money stuck in the house is actually purely numbers. But the good thing here is this couple has a capital gain of 650k and a quantum of a very high quantum of 1.4 million, that today they can probably right size to even a HDB that costs 500k, and they get to take out 900k in savings. And this will bring on to the next slide. How much money is retired for your retirement? And I had this article from Straits Times. They actually indicate here, review your retirement needs frequently. And I think I'm going to share with you my personal experience on this as well. So this article also shared that if you're 40 years old now, and if you were to require $2,000 monthly retirement in the next 20 or 25 years down the road at 3% inflation rate, right, this amount will actually goes to $4,000. Okay, based on inflation at 3% in the next 20 to 25 years, this amount will go to $4,000. So assumingly, if we were to retire at age 65 and our median age is 85 years old, let's do a calculation together. Alright, so assume $4,000 per month is actually 4k times 12 months in the year times 20 years, and this adds up to a total of estimated $1 million. And this is only for one person only. So the next golden question is also to look into the article, and they actually did an interview for this madam, and this madam actually said this: I wish I had bought a second property or make other investment while I was younger. Because why? When the moment we reach 60 or 65 years old, there is no way that we can actually have the luxury of a long runway to beef up our retirement savings. And so it is very important for us to actually target a retirement sum that we require and use property as one of the instruments to beef up this requirement that is necessary for retirement. Okay, so over here I'm just going to do another example. So the question now is also, do you think this is sufficient for you during retirement? $1 million for one person. So if it's a husband and wife, probably this amounts to $2 million. For some, 2 million is far-fetched. For some of you, they think that 2 million is probably manageable. So individual of us has our individual retirement needs. And in the next slide, I'm going to show you some classic examples for illustration purposes and how do we actually work ourselves towards the retirement goals using property. Okay, so next come to the next topic. Why is there a need to build capital via real estate? Okay, let us do our personal timeline to accumulate our desired capital. Okay, I'm going to use myself as example. I'm 40 this year and my targeted retirement age is 65. Okay, yeah, it can be earlier, it can be later, but just for illustration purposes. So these 25 years, I'm going to actually work myself out to ensure that I have a targeted retirement goal in mind. Okay, so like I said, for illustration purposes, right, I'm going to put $5 million as a case study over here. So by retirement, by 65, right, I actually desire to have a $5 million. Okay, so let's work it out together. Yeah, so when you are age 40 years old and plan to retire at 65 years old, this 25 years golden period is for you to build up property. So the ideal plan for me is to tell you to plan a 3 to 5 year horizon to accumulate profits. Accumulating profits is very important, especially for property owners. And I did my first pot of gold when I sold my HDB BTO when it right smack at the 5 years MOP, giving me at least $160,000 capital gain. So this is a six digit capital gain. Alright, yeah. So this 6-digit capital gain, right, allows you to beef up along the way, and every swap of properties there must be a minimum 6-digit figure gain for you to move on to the next property. Okay, so subsequently you should actually work backwards to accumulate your desired retirement goals. And in the next slide, I'm going to show you how we're going to do it. Okay, yeah, so I've been meeting clients and new clients as well, and I like to do this profiling with them by telling them these are the 3 most common instruments of property in Singapore, basically being a HDB, a EC, and a private residential. Okay, and I'm going to classify them into three different groups. Okay, so apparently I'm going to do some case study as well. So let's assume that these 3 properties are bought by couple A, couple B, couple C. 3 different couples, and these 3 couples are aged 35 years old when they purchase this property. Alright, so let's assume that property prices don't go through up and down, there's no cycle, etc. Okay, so is this price even after they fully paid? Okay, so let's do a case example. I'm right to say in the next 25 years, these 3 properties will be fully paid, right? These 3 properties will be fully paid. So at 60 years old, couple A will have a fully paid HDB 500k, couple B a fully paid EC at 1 million, and couple C a fully paid private condominium at $1.5 million. So that now leaves the golden question. At 60 years old, we could be semi-retired or planning to leave the workforce. Yeah, and the next question is it sufficient for us to tie through retirement? Given the front example, right, having $4,000 a month for the next 25 years, right, you require at least a $1 million quantum. So am I right to say that over here, couple C has more luxury to choose their preferred housing and to cash out? And true enough, when I speak to my clients, right, initially when I tell them which couple do you desire to be, I have people choosing couple A, couple B, couple C. Mostly people who choose couple A are telling me, yeah, HDB is cheap, affordable, per monthly installment is probably 1.4k thereabout. Whereas a private residential is 3,000, which is a little bit far-fetched off, unaffordable, etc., etc. But when I tell them 25 years later, when they reach 65 years old or 60 years old, which is the property you desire to have? And I had 100% of my client and even my students telling me, yeah, they want a private residential. Yeah, because at the back of their head, they know that this is a capital of a higher value at 1.5 million. And should they need money, all they need to do is to right size, or some people say downgrade to the HDB, and they get back a $1 million as savings. Similarly, for EC, they can actually move back to the HDB and take up 500k. But how about these people who stays in the HDB? I want to stress here, HDB is a good product. But while planning, HDB cannot be the only product that you own. It can be the very first and it can be the very last product. But along the way, you must really beef it up through forced savings in real estate property. Later, I'm going to touch on a little bit more in the further episodes. Okay, so let's leave it now for here. In fact, over here, right, the government data shows that 87% of Singaporeans still stays in the HDB. And from the financial sector, right, they say that close to 90% of Singaporeans are not financially ready for retirement. And this is very alarming. And that is the reason why I do this video today for educational purposes. A simple few slides will actually allow me to share with you why is it important that property is one form of an instrument to beef up our retirement goals. Alright, so I'm going to put it down into timeline purposes. Retirement age is 65 years old. Yeah, so my current age 40, using an example, HDB 500k, EC 1 million, and private $1.5 million. Alright, so when we reach retirement age, right, we still need a roof over our head. Am I right to say that? So for this EC and private owner, they can actually downgrade to the HDB at 500k and they still have a balance of 500k and $1 million respectively. But how about these people? They can only buy a probably 3-room flat HDB at probably 300,000 and only get to spare out 200k. The question is this 200k enough or not for retirement? That's why this is a golden period for you to plan ahead based on your current age and your retirement age. Alright? And that also brings down to the summary. I call that the 3 stages of property ownership. Regardless of what age you are in, right, we will start off with initial stage. Then they'll come to a stage where there's growth in your property. And ultimately, when we reach retirement age or close to retirement age, we want to collect yield from our property. And these 3 will be further discussed in detail in the further episode. And if you have any questions or inquiry, feel free to drop a comments below on my YouTube video. And I hope to see you soon. Take care and see you around.